Bing, bing, bong, bong. Chicka, chicka, chong, chong.
Let me just get this rolling and recording here.
Hello, hello.
Boom. I think this is perfect.
Awesome.
This is the Said No One Ever podcast, a podcast about things you never knew you wanted to hear about. I'm your host, Martin Moore. Let's get into it. Dude, I'm so excited to see you.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Said No One Ever podcast. This is episode 27. It's called GG, What's Your KD? Which basically means good game, what's your kill death ratio? Yeah. It's all about gaming, and you and I had been talking for a couple weeks about what can we do for an episode, and we're both huge gamers, and I thought it'd be a really cool topic to get into.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a huge part of my life. So
yeah, same.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Why don't you tell the listeners quick a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Will Hues. I'm a graphic designer and a photographer in Milwaukee. Been here since 2015, and I basically do everything from concerts to weddings to festivals to portraits to website and app design. So
that's how we met, is through photography.
Yeah, through the Instagram community. That was in abundance in 2016,
back
2017.
Back when it was pure.
When it was cool.
Oh, my God. I know, right? So there's a couple things I want to get into in this episode. I want to get into, why do we play video games? I kind of want to get into sort of, the evolution of video games. Back in the old days when we were kids, we used to play Super Mario Brothers, and now there's VR, and there's just some crazy, massive open-world games like Red Dead Redemption and all that stuff. I want to get a little bit into, esports, maybe what you and I kind of think about the future of that. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, does video game violence equate to real-life violence? Because that's always something that, we've kind of heard about over and over and over the years. So let's just get into it. Why do you play video games?
I think I play video games because it was just always it was introduced to me really early on through my brothers and getting my oldest brother's Super Nintendo.
Sure.
And it just kind of always has had a place for me as an escape from whatever reality is happening at the moment.
Sure,
so it's always just been something where I've always gotten lost in games, and it's always been something that has just brought me a lot of, I guess, for lack of a better term, just peace and satisfaction when, maybe
100%.
the outside world is a lot more confusing.
100%.
I might be working on a game that's super frustrating or something to finish, but it's a lot easier for me to focus on that than to try and solve all the world's problems.
Exactly.
Suppose.
I mean, for me, it's an escape. It's one of the only things where I put my phone down and I can't pick it up, because it's when I'm playing Battlefield or Red Dead Redemption or Call of Duty or whatever it is, it's I have my controller in my hand. I crash if I'm playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, the plane goes down. If I pick up my phone, whereas a movie or a TV show that during commercials and stuff, you can pick your phone up and putz on it. So it's the escapism that you get from a video game is so much more pure than it is with any sort of other form of entertainment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to me, I've always said that a good game is similar to a good book in terms of the way that you can enjoy it, because I've always been a big reader, and I love books, and I love just getting lost in a story.
Yeah.
And so that same aspect I think can be found in video games, and I think that's a reason why people create them too, is just that, they want to share a certain story and a certain experience, and I love
100%
taking all that in.
I think the other thing I really enjoy about video games is because no matter what the story is, you're sort of in control of it.
Yeah.
In a movie, it's narrated to you. It's dictated to you. The ending is always the same. Mm-hmm. In a video game, whether it's a first-person shooter or an open-world game or a sports game, whatever, you dictate. You have control over how the story unfolds. And I think having that control is another interesting, unique part about video games that I don't think a lot of people who don't enjoy or play video games think about.
Yeah. No.
In my opinion.
No, I think that I agree. I think it's something that, you talk about Red Dead Redemption, that was one of my big pandemic time sinks.
Same.
And man, it just when I was, kind of locked in my apartment, it was great to just be a cowboy for a day,
Just ride
or
your
however
horse.
many days I sunk into that game. But I still
That's a good girl.
Yeah.
Come on, girl.
I wish I had a relationship with a horse like that.
Oh my
now.
god. Did you beat it yet?
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Like when your horse dies, it's sad. And then like that last ride, like Arthur's last ride, oh, the music and stuff, and like they had all like the flashback voiceovers. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, especially since Red Dead Redemption, the original one was like a big game I played when I was in high school, and
never
then
played it.
having it being like a prequel to that, and just yeah, man. I mean, the narrative aspect of that game is kind of unrivaled.
It is. I believe
an
it's
epic.
the most expensive video game to date still ever made.
That's wild.
Right.
I didn't know that.
And I believe it took them like 8 years to make it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you compare that to, not to go off topic, but yeah, compare that 8 years to like what, the 10, 12 years that Cyberpunk was in
Oh my
development.
God,
and,
right.
Like, it's a good game, but it's like not the same
It's not
way I feel when I play
Right.
Red Dead.
Well, let's back things up a little bit and sort of get into like how video games have evolved, because I was born in 1980. Like I grew up with the Nintendo.
Yeah.
I know a lot. Did you grow up with Nintendo or Super Nintendo or GameCube, or because you're a little bit younger than me?
Yeah, I'm 29, so I was born in 93. So I grew up with my first console that we had at home was a Super Nintendo, because my oldest brother, who's around your age, like he got an N64 and then gave us a Super Nintendo. So like I grew up playing like Super Mario World and A Link to the Past, Metroid, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct. Yeah, like kind of all the classics on that console. That's like my nostalgic console.
Do you remember like when we were younger, like I feel like every time a new console came out, like a new generation, the graphics were like twice as good. And that wasn't like objective. They were like literally there was twice as many colors, twice as many polygons. And it's like it was just shocking when you would go from like an N64 to a GameCube, or a GameCube to a Wii, or whatever that was, Xbox to Xbox One and all that. I feel like now, like I have the Xbox Series X, and the graphics, they're good, but they're not like any better really than they were on my previous gen Xbox.
I can kind of agree with that, but I've also been I got a PS3 for the first time, so I've been like an Xbox and Nintendo guy mostly.
Are you Xbox or PlayStation?
I'm Xbox.
Okay.
As far as like what I grew up with like the original Xbox, the 360, Xbox One. But I was playing like the original Uncharted for PS3, and I'm like looking at those graphics compared to the most recent ones that have come out on like PS4, PS5, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's an improvement here. Mostly just I think in the way that people's like faces move.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, especially if you played like LA Noire when it first came out.
Yes.
Like some of the faces that people were interviewing that were making were just like the weirdest. Like no human was gonna make that face.
Right.
Like X for doubt right now. But
machine learning and AI obviously made that face.
Yeah. But it's like I think there's improvements, but I'm also super satisfied. I don't know, with kind of any console. Like if the game's good, like I don't really necessarily care about the graphics.
Right.
Like I'm not a huge
that's
like
Nintendo's
4K
MO.
like purist or anything like that. Well, yeah, and I'm a Nintendo boy at
You have a
heart.
Switch too, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah.
I mean, you're totally right. Like, if the story's good, if the game is good, boy, what are they? We sure picked a wrong time to record this podcast. There's like a giant like luncheon. I've never seen this many people here. One thing that's been really interesting, especially like with my job working at Cost, we have like gaming headphones and stuff like that, is getting a little deeper into the world of like esports. And I don't know if like you watch it. I don't really watch it, but I'm sort of aware of how big it is.
Yeah.
Do you follow it or anything, or?
I think like I kind of like esports and regular sports I almost have like the same relationship with.
Really?
Where I don't necessarily like follow anything in particular, like bar like watching the Bucks, like that's like the only team that I follow.
Sure.
And then like everything else is just like I'll watch it when it's on, and it's like
but you're
fun
not
and I
like
enjoy
watching
it.
like some
I'm
group
not, like,
on Rainbow Six Siege or
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like I have times where like I'm on Twitch and stuff like that, and I'm watching people play. But I feel like majority of the stuff when I'm watching people stream, it's like my friends in our Discord or somebody who I'm like if I'm really trying to learn a game, I'll like pop in and watch someone play on Twitch. I'm not super into following esports, but I know that they're huge.
It's
and
massive.
Think it's great. Yeah.
I think they're saying by 2025, esports revenue is going to surpass like regular sports.
That's
revenue.
actually insane.
Like all regular sports combined.
Well, I mean, I can see it. I think it's like it's far more marketable in a way to like the everyday person because there's like I think the barrier to entry is much lower. Like you don't need to have like like a physical beautiful specimen of
the perfect
body.
genetically engineered human being.
Like you can just like know how to use like a keyboard and a mouse and like be able to be good at a game. But I obviously know it's way more complicated than that, but
it's I think the reason why it does so well, and like you said, because it's so much more accessible to people, is you think about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
The only people really who like the Milwaukee Bucks are people who live in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You look at a game like Fortnite or Rainbow Six Siege or a lot of those games, everybody on planet Earth, it's accessible. It's the language is visual. Everybody knows how to like play it that like watches it and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter if you live in China or Brazil or Mexico or wherever, like you can watch that game. So the audience is so much bigger compared to, following the Packers or the Patriots or the Brewers or.
Well, yeah. And it's just like, I can, watch basketball and I'm not good at basketball, but I still enjoy it. But I think it's just like, if there was like a Mario Kart tournament, I'd feel a lot more comfortable entering that than like playing some one-on-one at the gym
with LeBron.
Yeah. No, it is crazy. I mean, that aspect, I can definitely see it surpassing in terms of revenue. And I also think it's like crazy because, I mean, even just looking at like you mentioned Fortnite, it's like that game in 2021, it's a free game.
Right.
And it amassed like $5.5 billion in profits.
It's been shocking seeing the sort of rise and revolution of like the free game sort of idea, like Fortnite and Apex Legends and all these games where it's like you get the game for free and then they get you with like cosmetics and all that. Yeah, the microtransactions and stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody so passionate as like my nephew trying to convince my brother to get him like the battle pass for this year.
So that you can get the Mandalorian skin.
Yeah, like Darth Vader.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brilliant. I will say this: the one thing I do like about games like Fortnite or Apex Legends is their longevity. Like, there's so many games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, that they come out every other year with a new one, and you invest all this time and money and energy into the game, and then the new one comes out, and everybody sort of shifts focus to the new game.
Yeah.
And the player base is, you just kind of feel like you just spent all this money and time and.
Well, it gets lost, and it's like strange too because I like Battlefield. That's like a franchise. I never got super into Call of Duty because everybody was always like so much better at it than me, and I was getting like like cussed at by like 12-year-olds in a lobby, and they were kicking my ass. So I'd like I was a Halo person growing up.
God.
So that was like
Halo 2.
Halo 2. That was like and 3 was like golden era of Xbox Live Halo. I grew up like. My main one, I think, was like I played a lot with my friends. Was Reach.
Ooh, God, I forgot about that game.
Reach had awesome online, but like, Call of Duty, I think, and like even Halo and stuff like that. Like, you release a new game, and then all of a sudden you lose your players because you have to go to this one. Then you have players that don't switch over.
Right.
And that's where like Fortnite, Apex, like Valorant, like all these games. Like they keep that longevity, and it's just something that even with like Battlefield. Like I have played Battlefield. And like, there's what, like 2049 is the one that just came out.
2042.
Yeah. And like I'm still playing Battlefield 1.
Right.
Like, and it still has a decent online community.
Yes, exactly.
Like you just have to find the right lobbies, and it's like almost more fun to me to play that than to play like kind of a new. Like they also rush these releases. So
I know.
It's like 2042 is like super broken when it was released.
I pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
And it has been.
And now they're talking about making it free.
I know, right? Next week, though, I think they finally, after like 9 months, are coming out with the season 1. There's been zero content since October.
Oh, great.
And it's been frustrating.
But I mean, it is a business model of just like, I understand that's kind of how it used to work. Like you got to release a new game, like keep people interested, give some new mechanics and stuff like that. And I think that's where also like a lot of complaints can come in, because like that's where people got mad about Call of Duty being like, you can run on walls now. Like what is this?
And I mean,
it's always like the return is where people come back to play.
Right. And you can lose the franchise. You can lose a huge player base if you keep coming out with these games that are half rushed and play like shit.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, and just as a studio, it's a way to lose people like as far as just interest in
Right.
whatever games you release. So I know, like, yeah, and like Project Red had a huge problem with like Cyberpunk releasing, and like,
Yeah.
then now it's just like there's kind of some worry with their other games. But
Right.
I'm
I just got Cyberpunk. I started playing it now that I've completely beat Red
it's
Dead
good
Redemption.
now.
It's good. I
Yeah.
really, really like it. It's very smooth on my Series X.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
yeah, it's fun. It like I was like one of the people I started playing that game, and like I was on PC, and everybody's like, oh, it's broken, and I was like, well, no, it's playing fine for me. I was like lauding that over people, and then I played it for 45 hours, and I get to the last mission, and the NPC I need to talk to just repeatedly kept spawning inside of a tank, like not like that they could get out of it.
Yeah.
The assets were just overlapping, and I couldn't talk to them. So now it's just like,
how fucking
yeah. And so I kind of like shot myself in the foot,
Yeah.
I guess. But
Do you think video games are a waste of time? You hear a lot of people say that, especially parents. Video games are a waste of time.
I think that's like a two-sided question. I think they can be,
Uh,
but I don't think that they inherently are.
sure.
I think that they have a lot of value. Like I pull a lot of my like creative inspiration from video games, or like that's where I get my like kind of like step away from what I'm working on. Like,
Sure.
you know, if I'm working on a project or whatever, and I need to like just kind of like get my eyes off that screen, I suppose,
Right.
put them on another one. But like, like I'll like go play a few games of like Switch bowling or like
Yeah.
you know something like that, just to like kind of like free up that space. But I don't think they're a waste of time unless you like allow them to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
I've definitely wasted time playing video games.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like a strength of them too, is that you can waste time doing
Right.
them. But yeah, I mean, I try and at least not play video games all day every day, because
It's very easy to, though.
yeah, maybe if I was a professional esports
Well,
athlete.
let's talk about that, because it's kind of circling back to the esports thing. When I was a kid, and I still probably think now this is sort of the stigma, like parents don't want their kids playing video games all the time. Like, you're not playing video games. You only get an hour a day or whatever. And I don't think a lot of people realize as a kid how much money you can make if you have a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel on AdRev, or
Yeah.
if you get really good at it. It's a career for people now.
Yeah.
It's a career, whether it's a YouTube channel or whether they're professionally out there doing it. And so I guess it begs the question, should parents sort of rethink if like they get an idea that their kid is good at video games? Should they rethink the whole mantra of go outside and touch grass and play with the ball, if it's something that maybe the kid could make money at or get good at? Boy, that was a long question. I'll let you answer.
No, I think, I don't know. I guess in my perspective, sure, but I also think that like being outside is super important.
Yeah.
Like that was something that at least like my parents were the same way, where I think I got a little bit more leeway, but I also was like the kid who would like, my parents would go to sleep and I'd like sneak down to the basement and
Yeah.
play Resident Evil or something like that.
Hell yeah.
Never finished that game, but I think having limits on anything that you're
Can be
like sitting
addicting.
at a screen at, or like can be addicting, is
Yeah.
like good, because I mean, at least like I find myself on my phone too much, or like anything
Right.
like that. So I think it's good to impose like limits to a certain extent, but I don't think it's good to like necessarily like maybe like condescendingly talk about it.
Sure.
Be like, oh, this isn't going to amount to anything, or like whatever. Like regardless if they're going to be making money off of it, like I think it's a valuable part of our culture, and I don't think it should be something that you like squash entirely. Like sure, okay, like maybe as a kid, like like what, an hour a day or whatever,
Yeah.
like still go outside, have fun, like all that stuff, like put a limit on it, but like don't necessarily say you can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, or be like, oh, these are the devil, like it's not anything that's going to. I find a lot of value from video games.
Sure.
I found a lot of community from video games. Like
Do
I
you
made a lot of friends through video games
That's
that
a
I
big
do
one.
other things with
Exactly.
than just play video games. So
Do you think there's any sort of skills that you can learn from playing video games?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna give the simple question, there's like games that'll teach you how to code.
Right.
There's like a game called Crosscode that's super cool. It like teaches you how to code. Or there's like even like flight simulators. Awesome.
Yes.
Like there's so many different things.
I couldn't land a plane, but I could definitely take off, and I
Yeah.
could definitely cruise in it.
Yeah.
Just because of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Like I don't know, they got like I love trains. I have Train Simulator. It's just like
What game is that?
it's literally called
Train Simulator? Is it good?
I mean, it's like if you want to learn how to drive a train,
That's
sure.
boom.
Yeah. But I I think there's like cool stuff like that, but then there's also just like you can learn, I think, just valuable lessons from games, but also, I don't know, it's just a way to like experience culture in a way.
Sure.
I think if you're going to boil it down to something,
Sure.
you know, it's like consuming any form of art or, you know, whatever.
Media content.
Yeah. I think it's more valuable almost to consume like play a video game than it is to just sit and scroll Facebook
Right.
or like
or your Netflix queue.
try and be, you know, like, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to have more fun playing a video game than I am, like, trying to, like,
Right.
make myself, like, you know, the world's next best influencer.
Yeah, popular on the internet, right? Exactly. No, that's an excellent point. I kind of want to get into this quick, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but I do feel like it'd be interesting to get your point of view and my point of view, because we hear about it all the time. You know, we're hearing about it again with the unfortunate like recent mass shootings and stuff like that, and they always come back to violent video games.
Yeah.
And you know, do violent video games perpetuate real life violence? Like, what do you think? I mean, the data says it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with the data. I think that there's like a certain thing of like who has access to what games, because I like, at least for me growing up, like my mom like took away all our violent video games.
Yeah.
Like when she found out that like Mortal Kombat
Oh,
for the
boy.
Super Nintendo like had blood in it.
Oh yeah,
like
and you're
she
pulling
hid
out
it.
someone's spinal cord.
Yeah, she hid that game. She hid that. I remember like we got like James Bond and like Perfect Dark for the N64. She hid those.
Perfect
Like
Dark Zero.
Turok, stuff like that. And I like literally like, you know, I had to like go over to friends' houses to play like Halo or you know, like Time Splitters and stuff. So it was just, but also like I don't have the urge to go and you know pick up a gun and do something
Rob a bank
terrible.
or something.
Yeah,
Or
I think in
kill
you
a
know,
hooker.
yeah, and like how many times have I done that in Grand Theft Auto, or like how
Right.
many people have I like hogtied and left on the railroad tracks in
Right.
Red Dead Redemption?
Boy,
But
the
like,
ways you can kill people in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
Especially like when you come across the Ku Klux Klan.
yeah,
And you get like good points for
yeah,
it.
yeah. That one's nice, but I think like all in all, like no, I don't think that they are the reason why it's happening. Like
Yeah.
it's such more of a like nuanced and like
For sure.
you know, without getting too deep politically into my own leanings, which
Yeah.
are probably pretty obvious. I think it's just that, you know, you can't blame something that is not the actual cause
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Using
Way
it as a
deeper.
scapegoat.
Just because it just says someone played Grand Theft Auto once, or like played Call of Duty once, or like that's their favorite game. I don't think that's the thing that's making
No.
them do that.
The games are in every other country.
Yeah.
And they don't have this. They don't have that problem.
Yeah, I
so
think
it's
that's
like,
kind of the point,
You know,
you know?
the same movies are in every country, in other countries. The same music, the same. You know, we go through this thing all the time. It was the same thing with like music. Like when gangster rap came out back in the 90s, and the reason we got parental advisory because they
Yeah.
thought it was influencing people.
And
it's like-
ironically, the parental advisory is what made those records sell more.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been interesting seeing it keep surfacing and keep people using it as a scapegoat.
It'll
when-
keep surfacing too.
Yeah,
Because it's an easy buzzword. It's an
It
easy
is.
thing to like draw eyes to it. On both sides of it, like on our side, just like we don't believe it's true, and then on the other side,
Right.
being like it's absolutely true. Like, yeah, it's a way.
How
to
could
get
it not?
Yeah.
No, totally. So let's start getting into actual video games.
Yeah.
What is your favorite video game series of all time?
Series, Zelda.
Really?
Yeah, I have a
I've never
Triforce
played.
tattoo.
I've never played a Zelda game.
You've never played a Zelda game? Man, that's like, to me, like if I was going to name like, you know, the biggest influences in my life, like Zelda easily is in the top 5 of just like anything, not just games. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the story, like just that like hero's arc and the
Who is the main character in Zelda?
Link.
Yes,
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed.
Definitely
I'm
not
ashamed I had to
Zelda.
ask.
Yeah, but I think it's just like I loved that entire just fantasy realm, and like especially like Ocarina of Time, which came out for the N64, was like, other than Super Mario 64,
Yeah.
was like the first true open world game
Yeah.
that allowed you to have that like freedom of just like exploring it. And I explored it. I didn't beat that game. I started playing it when I was like 5. I didn't beat that game till I was like 13. I just like, it was a long progression, but no, I love that series. I'll
Yeah.
buy. That's the one, like I collect games, so it's just like
Okay.
that's the one series I want to try and get like a hard copy of every
All of
single
them,
title.
just to have, just so you can touch it.
I
and look at
have,
it.
yeah. I mean, I think I'm only missing like a select handful currently, but Yeah.
I think mine would probably be, it's going to sound dumb, but Battlefield. Like, I've played, I think, almost every Battlefield since 1942, the original ones.
Yeah.
And I love them. They've always been so unique when it comes to, like, AAA first-person, like, shooters, army shooters. And I just love them. They're like the Bad Company series was just so fun. It was such a deviation from like Battlefield 2, and I don't know. I've always enjoyed the Battlefield series for some reason.
Yeah, it's a series that I've like only played limited, but I've really enjoyed.
They were always the one that had like the best graphics, the most unique gameplay. It just wasn't a run and gun arcade shooter like Halo was and Call of Duty, and I've always loved it.
Yeah, there's like more to it. It's like almost kind of based more on the military accuracy in a way. Obviously, it's a video game.
And all the vehicles and stuff were dope, like getting in a boat, getting in a chopper, and I don't know, it was so cool. I mean, most of the games are like that now, but
I've also seen some of like the craziest like
Battlefield
kills.
moments.
Yeah, like people like jumping out of planes,
jets, and then like shooting another one, and then
like,
getting back in the plane. Because that's in Top Gun Mavericks, right?
Dude,
he does that in Top.
Almost.
If you could have one game sequel right now, what would it be? So it's not out. There's
not out.
Like you have no idea if it's ever going to be made again. But is there like a sequel to a game that you love that you would give anything to see again?
You sent me this question. I was trying to figure it out. And it's a hard one, honestly. I think, like, if I was going to say, like, another, like, we're going, like, it hasn't even been announced.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a sequel
I mean,
coming out.
the probabilities that they probably won't make it, you know.
Oh, man. That's so tough. Like, probably, like, an actual, like, this is going to sound weird, but, like, one of my favorite Zelda games is Twilight Princess. It came out for the Wii and the GameCube, and it has this, like, awesome, dark, like, crazy dystopian feel to it. I loved it, but I would love to have like a second kind of like entry in that Zelda series, because like all Zelda series, like they fit within like a certain timeline or like 3 timelines, but like there's like a couple that are direct sequels.
Okay.
Twilight Princess didn't have that, and I just like I loved that feel of just.
So if Nintendo said we're coming out with Twilight Princess 2 or whatever, would you like drop everything and
I'd freak out, man.
Here's my bank account number?
Yeah. I mean, I already I feel like any Zelda game that's coming out, like I've pre-ordered it as soon as
the new
it does.
the Breath of the Wild sequel is going to come out.
Breath of the Wild 2, yeah. That's also, I've never finished it. It's
really?
I've played that game for 150 hours.
And you haven't beat it yet?
I haven't beaten
it. And that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's why I like open world games like that, because you're almost never done with the game.
That's like the reason that I found, like I hesitate to say it's my favorite Zelda game, because like I'm very much, I think like my favorite is just like the kind of like the classic vibe of it, and this is like it's a walk away from what their kind of original game flow was, and the ability to just like literally you can just explore the map, and like
do whatever you want.
You don't have to do anything,
right?
You can just walk
do
around.
as little or as much as you want.
Yeah, and I just like at times where if I just, this is another thing kind of touching on what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast here, is that I just like sometimes need that escape.
Yep.
And like being able to just jump in, just like not have a goal, and I'm just gonna like run around
just
and
waste
like,
some
see
time,
what the
putz
world
around.
has to offer.
Absolutely.
Like, it's awesome. And then I bring that to like even just like relating it to like what I do outside of video games. Like if I want to go like hiking or like exploring in nature, that's like one of my favorite things to do. And so it's like kind of a little hack of being able to do that in my living room,
right,
when I don't have the ability to go outside,
right,
or don't want to.
Right. No, I love that point. And I think that's the reason why, for me, like open world games have become like my number one favorite. So like mine, if I could have a sequel, it was originally going to be like Red Dead Redemption 3, but I believe that they've already kind of mentioned that they.
I'm sure they'll finish it out.
So mine would be Super Mario Odyssey 2. Would be my.
That'd be great.
That would be my.
I haven't played that one yet.
Me and Jen played that through COVID. It's like the only video game she's ever played with me. It's one of the few I've ever beaten.
Yeah.
And I've beaten it like completely, and it is probably one of the greatest games I've ever played. It was just so fun. There is so much to do, and God, if they announced Super Mario Odyssey 2, I would pay $500 for it.
I need to play just Odyssey in general.
It is absolutely excellent.
I beat Super Mario Sunshine this year for the first time.
Is that good?
Yeah, I liked it. It's like, I mean, I don't think there's a bad Mario game.
No,
like
no.
you can't, like, it's just Mario.
Right.
So like I've beaten the select ones, out of like I've beaten Super Mario World for Super Nintendo, and like, I think Super Mario Land for like Game Boy.
Yes.
And
I love the Super
Mario
Land.
3D Land for 3DS.
Yes.
Was super fun actually. But yeah, dude, Mario, you can't really go wrong.
Treat yourself. Get Odyssey.
Yeah,
It
I will.
is. There's like
I got way
there's
too many
4
games on my
endings. So
backlog
when we
right now.
beat it, it unlocked like a whole nother world. Then we beat that. It unlocked a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Then there was like a second ending. Then there was a third ending. Then there was a fourth ending. It was like, Jesus Christ, how many, like, does this game ever end? It just never ended. I think it took us 200 something hours to like finally beat it.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that kind of like speaks to the Switch and like their launch titles,
Right.
like Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey.
Right.
I think that Skyrim is a launch title
Oh,
too. which
yeah,
is
that's
awesome.
right.
But
So what do you think the future of gaming looks like?
I think like
Because I feel like sitting on the couch and holding a controller,
yeah,
like I feel like we're starting to like get to the point where people want something more, which is why this you have the Switch with the Nintendo's been constantly trying to get us to move the
like since
Kinect and all
Wii
that. Like,
yeah.
do you think it's VR? Do you think it's AR? A little bit of both or something? Like, what do you feel like, or what would you
I
like
think
to
they
see?
all kind of go hand in hand. I think I don't at least for me, like I love being able to sit on my couch and not move.
Have a cocktail,
Yeah, play
little
video
popcorn,
games. Yeah,
some Doritos.
yeah. Eat the Doritos with like chopsticks.
Yep.
So I don't cheese up the
Right, so you
controller.
don't get the controller all nasty. Your $200 controller all nasty.
Yeah. But I think that there's like always going to be a place for that.
Sure.
Or like standard kind of like even just like PC like keyboard mouse gaming. Like you're never gonna get like what's the most popular video game in the world? It's League of Legends.
Is it really?
Yeah. Or at least it's between League of Legends and Fortnite,
Okay.
I believe. And like
Which
or
is not
it's-
surprising.
But those like real-time strategy games, like I feel like it's always going to be that kind of style
Yeah.
of just like that kind of like click-based,
Sure.
monitor-based, and maybe there'll be some cool. Like I'm sure that there's like some great stuff that's being worked on or is already out for Oculus. That's like interactive. Like you're in it, you can like place everything in 3D space, and
Right.
it's awesome. But I like look at how phones have become so
Right?
involved in gaming. Like I
Huge.
literally downloaded like Streets of Rage 4, which is like a beat 'em up.
Yep.
And that came out on PS4, Switch, and Xbox. And
Apex Legends is on the phone now.
yeah,
I
it
just
plays
downloaded
fine
it.
on phone. I mean, I don't know about Apex, but at least like this, like Streets of Rage. So it's like I think there's always going to be like you need to have like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And augmented reality is huge.
Yeah.
I think it's going to continue to be huge. VR is obviously giant, and Oculus is going to continue to like keep rising up. I'd love to get an Oculus. It's just
Right.
like for me, I think I need to find the game that's like going to be the perfect excuse for me to actually get one.
Yeah.
And also like
The space.
yeah, well, I have
knock
I-
over your TV and
Luckily, like my apartment has like a giant open area now, so it like would work out for that. But yeah, I'd also be that person that would probably get way too lost.
Swing a
in it.
lightsaber
I'd get
around
like
and-
Skyrim VR and like not leave my apartment for like 3 months and
Right.
like come out thinking I was like a reptile person. But I think it's all like they all go hand in hand. I think it's like kind of an argument that's brought along like a lot of different areas, like, oh, what's going to happen when this is here? Like, is this going to like get rid of that? And I think with gaming, like it's just an evolution of like finding new ways to access and like present it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it necessarily gets rid of the old ones. Cause like, look at how many indie developers, like especially for like Switch, I think like so many third party
Yes.
developers that are just creating these awesome, like side scrolling platformers, like
Yep.
these Metroidvania titles that are just like a throwback to what was being released on like the Super Nintendo.
Right? It's
And, like,
shocking the longevity of that type of game, side-scrolling games.
and it's well, I mean that's it. It works, I think, and just like even like advancements in like pixel based like sprite animation
right?
and technology. Like I love. Like I grew up on like Final Fantasy games and anything that was pixelated. So it's just like seeing those and bringing that back, like definitely brings me back into that nostalgia
Yes.
feeling of like, yeah, it's like 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday and I'm playing Final Fantasy 3 with my brother,
Huh.
and it's just that's like a piece of my heart. Like that's like kind of home,
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to go away.
No.
I think it's just going to keep developing. People find new ways to innovate. People find new ways to
I
like create
agree.
new stuff. But like you created this whole idea of gaming being like this escape. I don't think it needs to necessarily be one thing or the other. I think it just needs to be exactly what it is, and
Yeah.
it's going to continue
Absolutely.
to keep being.
God, I love video games, man.
Yeah, dude.
If you could have one game console that you've never owned, what would it be?
That I've never owned.
Yeah, that you've never owned or played on.
I've played on like a majority,
Really?
I think, but if I was like one that I never owned, it'd probably be between like if I was going like modern, like an Oculus, like I'd love to have an Oculus.
Yeah.
Or if I was going like more retro, I'd love to have like a Neo Geo.
Oh God, I forgot about those.
Yeah, like they had. So for people who don't know, Neo Geo was SNK's attack at the home video game market. They created a lot of cabinets and stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s, released a lot of games like Metal Slug and all that stuff. And they literally made a console that was like bringing the arcade home. So like these back in the day, like this console cost like $500.
It was so expensive.
And games were also like $100 to start off with because it was literally the same exact technology that was in an arcade cabinet. I have a friend that has one, and like every time I'm over at his house, I'm like, let's play Neo Geo. Like let's play some Money Puzzle Exchanger. Like, and it's all these like kind of obscure titles that I just like. I love that arcade style of gaming.
Yes.
So if I could just have that at home, like I have like a dual arcade stick and like a Neo Geo Classic, but I'd love to have like the actual console with these cassettes, like, or the cartridges are like the size of like VHS cassettes. They're huge. But I love it. It's like it's a very cool kind of accessible way to like kind of bring all that home. And that's another thing about video game culture in general. Like look at how far it's come from like arcades and stuff like that.
God,
and like we kind of like fell out of arcades for a while, right? Because there was like online
back,
gaming.
though.
Yeah, and I think esports has a lot to do with that because it's like bringing people together to play in the same space.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, well, what did we love to do when we used to do this?
Right.
It's like, well, let's bring in these other classic titles. Like, let's have a Street Fighter 2 tournament. Like, you know.
Look at the 3rd Street Market Hall that just opened downtown. They have I believe like a Switch there where you can everyone can like play Mario Kart together and stuff like that.
That's
and it's
awesome.
like there's something cool about playing video games with other people like in the same space.
Dude,
you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing. Like, I know like a question here. I'm going to ask it before you ask it. And I'm going to answer it. Is like, what's my favorite console of all time?
Yes.
Like, the Switch, hands down.
Ooh.
Easily. I'm like, once again, Nintendo fanboy to death. But it's just like so accessible to anyone. Like I know people's like 95-year-old grandmas who play Animal Crossing religiously.
Yes.
You know, it's just like you can play whatever. It's got everything from Skyrim to Mario to Zelda to, you know,
all the old games.
Switch Sports, dude. I have way too many hours on that already. Man,
I love the
bowling.
Dude, there's nothing better than when you win it.
But it's just like such a wonderful thing. And like I had a friend who was traveling in Europe a couple years ago, and he was taking a train through Spain, and he had his Switch, and there was like this little 5-year-old kid who was sitting next to him, like kept watching him playing Mario Kart, and like they did not speak the same language, and like he just like popped off one of the Joy-Cons, like handed to him, was like, you want to play? And he just ended up playing Mario Kart with this kid that like they did not know a single word to say to each other, and they played Mario Kart for 4 hours straight.
But that game is the same language. Everyone understands that.
Yeah, I think that's so cool.
It really is.
Like how like that kid is going to remember that for the rest of his life. Remember that nice stranger that let me play video games with him?
Right.
And like his mom is probably going to remember that too. Like remember that 4-hour stint we were traveling when my kid didn't annoy me at all?
Yeah. Do you think Nintendo is going to hang on to the Switch model for the foreseeable future?
Well, they said that they're like there's no plans like discontinuing it.
Like, do you think it's just gonna? You think inevitably the Switch Pro is gonna come out with a faster processor and better Joy-Cons and all that stuff? It's just gonna be or do you think they're gonna do what they always do and ditch it? And
I think I think kind of like all of their consoles that they've had for the past like 20 years have led up to the Switch.
I agree.
Everything from like the DS to
look at the Wii U,
the Wii and the Wii U. The Wii U is like that's like the one console that Nintendo kind of escaped me. It was like I didn't get it, but it was like the right in between of like the Wii and the Switch. But like, you know, yeah, I think that they found what they needed and they're able to like just use that. I mean, because look, I think it's the most popular console of all time.
It's get the Wii. I believe the PS2. PlayStation 2, the Wii, and then the Nintendo Switch.
I think and I think Switch is at least current
the
gen.
Switch is it'll surpass them eventually.
But it's just
it's shocking how many they sold.
Yeah, it's insane. But I think that they'll go and you know hopefully they'll innovate off of it. I think they're going to get a lot of longevity out of it because it's like what you were saying earlier. Like Nintendo's not based around like having the cutting edge graphics or anything like that.
8K.
Like, I don't need 4K, dude.
Right.
I just want to play Zelda.
2 terabyte SD card.
Yeah. And it's just like, but like. Yeah, I think they'll stick with it. I think just that aspect of portability.
I agree.
Like literally being able to like,
I agree.
I can play it wherever, dude. It's
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
On
and
an
I don't-
airplane,
Yeah.
boom, pop it on the stand. God,
Yeah.
I want the new stand.
There should be
on
a
the new
Dr. like
OLED.
Seuss like book about this.
Yeah,
Like,
I
can
put
you
it on,
can
I
you
can
play it on
a
an airplane?
plane.
Yeah.
I can play it on a train.
yeah.
Oh, I would probably say my favorite console of all time would probably either be the Switch or the Xbox 360.
360
I had
was-
so much good time on the Xbox 360. There were so many games that were just amazing on that console. So I would say it would be a toss-up between the Switch and the Xbox 360.
360 is definitely on my list.
Yeah.
I think that was like the console I had for the longest amount of time before
Same.
I like upgraded.
Yep, same.
Like because I had, yeah,
Because I never got the Xbox One. I went right from to the Xbox One X.
like I did some work for somebody and ended up like they paid me with an Xbox One.
Really? Did you ever
Yeah.
have the Red Ring of Death? Of course you did.
Not on a 360.
What?
I got a 360 like my senior year, so I got it when like they came out with like the arcade versions that didn't get the red ring.
Oh, okay.
But I do remember like I would always go over to my friend's house to play 360 and play like Halo 3 and
Yep.
stuff like that. And yeah, his red ring like every other day.
I had it
The
twice.
hacks that we would have to do
Yes.
to like make it work, like put a towel over it
Yep,
and like
yep.
a piece of cardboard underneath
There was
it.
like some paste you could get to do a bunch of weird crap to it, and
Pick it up, turn around in a circle, set it back down.
Yeah.
I don't know, like just some weird stuff that made it still work. But I mean, that thing still
Pat your
trucked
tummy,
for a
rub your
while.
head.
Yeah. But I definitely had, like I had a 360 for. I still have it, but I think like senior year of high school until like 8 years after that is when I first got like an upgraded console. So it's just like that's probably my most extensive library of games is a 360.
All
But
right, final question.
yeah.
Top 5 video games of all time. Doesn't have to be in any order. I know you had to like make a note.
Dude, I
God,
made a
I only have
list.
4 on my list. What the hell? I'll be curious if any of ours overlap.
I had a hard time picking these because I wanted to like make kinda like-
Diversify.
yeah, I wanted to diversify, and also like I've played, like I can show you like have a list of all the games that I've beat since like 2006.
Yeah.
So it's just like I had a hard time doing it, but if I was gonna say a top 5, if I was gonna include like one Zelda title,
Sure.
Ocarina of Time, just as like the classic, like I can't not say it.
Yeah.
These are in no particular order, so I'd say like Ocarina of Time, BioShock Infinite,
Ooh.
Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Yeah, that was for Nintendo DS. It's amazing. LA Noire. I don't know why I love that game so much, but it's just like it's cool to be like a cop in like 1940s LA, like solving like these mysteries where all these people are fancy and smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. I just love it. And then the last one, Witcher 3.
Ooh, is that good? I want to play that.
Is it good? Yes. It's
It
amazing.
looks so good. The graphics
it's-
look incredible. That's an open world game, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome, and I love like that fantasy aspect, and I think it's probably one of the best, if not the best, like RPGs I've ever played.
Sure.
And like also Geralt as a character is just badass and
Sure.
awesome. But I have some honorable mentions, but
Yeah, but a couple honorable mentions because I just added 2 to my list now, and so I'm up to 7. So you get 2 more.
okay. Well, I'm gonna list them off here, but honorable mentions probably like City Skylines,
Ooh.
just because that was a big.
I was in a
pandemic.
band called Tonight the City Skyline.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but like that was a big time thing during the pandemic. Like, how can I build a city and create a functioning like transit system?
Yeah.
Like whatever. I played it for like 10 hours at a time.
That's just fun though.
I know.
It gets your mind going. It keeps
Well,
you sharp.
and it's just I don't know. It was the easiest way to waste time when I was locked in my apartment.
Right?
So, but yeah, like City Skylines, Assassin's Creed Origins.
I've always wanted to get into the Assassin's Creed series, and I never did.
I've been playing them since they first came out.
Are they good?
One of my favorite series.
Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it. I would say like if you're gonna play any of them right off the bat, like Assassin's Creed Origins is great because it literally is like the origin story of the Assassin Order, and it's in a new kind of the new play style that they created, but it still retains a lot of the old games in terms of like the feel that they had.
Sure.
Because they've like kind of transitioned in terms of the way they play, so now it's more of an RPG.
Gotcha.
Less of like kind of like assassin story based type stuff, but
Gotcha.
it's still awesome. But Origins was amazing.
I really need to get into that.
Dude, it's fun. I would recommend it. It's definitely not expensive now.
Yeah, they're cheap.
Mm-hmm. But
All right,
Yeah.
my list. Red Dead Redemption 2. For
That's
sure.
an honorable mention for me as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's, in my opinion, next to Super Mario Odyssey, which is my Sega one, it's the greatest game I've ever played in my entire life. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, I'm still playing it now. I'm John Marston. I'm just like, I'm trying to find bounties and like.
I always get the urge, like randomly, I'll be like driving down the highway and it's sunset, and I just like hear like,
the
and I'm like, I
graphics,
need to go be a cowboy.
graphics, the music. I mean, it's just an absolute pleasure to play. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Battlefield 3. I sunk a ton of time to that. It's still my personal favorite first-person shooter ever.
Yeah.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Okay.
I have sunk so many hours into that game. The whole reason why I got the Xbox Series X was to play Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Uh-huh.
And I paid a scalper $800 for my Series X because I could not fucking get one. The original Star Wars Battlefront 2 would be an honorable mention because I played the crap out of that game.
That game is amazing.
Yeah.
That Galactic Conquest
yes.
mode. Yeah.
Just going up into space and coming back on the land. I love
those
it.
space battles are super
Yes.
fun too.
And then final honorable mention would be Halo 2. I played that game for 24 hours straight once.
Dude, I did that with Halo. I think it was Halo 4 when it came out.
Uh-huh.
I like played it all the way through in a day with a friend.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
It's just fucking amazing.
Yeah. Halo 2, yeah, those first 3 games, like those
Right.
stories.
Right.
Are awesome.
I love video games because we have to be on our phones to promote ourselves
Yeah.
and businesses and stuff like that, and just the world we live in. It's all social media. You're always on your phone. You get so frustrated on your phone, and there's just nothing better than like putting that thing down, making a cocktail, getting some chopsticks and Doritos, and just sitting on the couch and just getting lost and just forgetting about everything in the real world, your job, your business, friends, politics, all that, and just get lost in a game. I mean, it's an incredible feeling, and I sort of feel sorry for people who don't get to experience that or have no interest in playing video games.
I do too. I mean, as with anything, like it's a art form. I think that you don't have to consume it. Like I know people who are just not into it. That's fine. I'm sure they have. I mean, they probably have some cooler hobbies than I do. So it's like it's cool.
Yeah.
But
Puppeteer.
yeah, like for me, it's always been just like I think for a long time I was always just like maybe self-conscious of it. Like well, is this too nerdy or is this too whatever? And then like within the last couple of years, I've just been like, nah, dude, I love this. Like now I like kind of officially collect games. Like I actually just pulled it up. I officially have like 235 single physical games that I own amongst like 14 different consoles.
Damn.
I have like 12 consoles hooked up to my TV right now.
That's something I want to get into and I'd love to do, but I feel like
It's
that's a rabbit hole
man.
that goes really deep into your pocket.
You have to stop
and
yourself.
your living room.
I have to like I spent way too much money on it last year, and now this year I'm like, all right, I need to like play some of these games.
That you
Yeah, but it is fun, and it's like something that even now I'm like, as a hobby, I'm getting into like modding and like repairing old like Game Boys or like Game Gears and stuff like that, and like modernizing them. You know, put like a new backlit screen and like change them to like USB-C charging and make them look all pretty. Yeah.
All right, I have one more final question.
Go ahead.
And then we'll finish this episode. One game that's out right now that you haven't played that you would love to play. Doesn't matter what console it's on, if it's PC or something, but a game you haven't played that you've heard about or has piqued your interest, but for some reason you can't play it, or you just haven't had the time, or.
It's a really good question.
I can kill time with mine.
There's probably a few of them, but I guess like the one that pops up is like Last of Us. Like, I've just never. I've always heard like the most amazing things about it.
Sure.
And it just like as far as like a story and a narrative and just like that whole experience. I've never played it. I think I can play it now because I have a PS3, so I could actually play it. But yeah, it's the first thing that like pops into my head.
Sure.
At the very least. Next gen, probably like God of War. Or the Spider-Man games, man. I don't have
I know. I've never played those
high enough
before.
gen. The Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales are coming to PC.
It looks
so
amazing.
I'm super excited about those, yeah.
Remind me I want to quick talk about before we finish this the Matrix like demo thing.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play that at all?
I like saw videos of it. I didn't play it at all, but
Okay.
like that's the one that's made in Unreal 5.
Yeah,
It's just
I'll bring that up before we finish. My game that I would love to play, but I don't have a PC, would be Starfield. Like it just looks insane.
That's not out yet, right?
It's been in like a constant beta for like 8 years.
Yeah, like real-time strategy.
There's another game that's coming out on console called like Oh no, I want to play Star Citizen. Starfield's coming out.
Yeah, that's
Star Citizen would be the one that I would love
just
to play.
got delayed till
Yes,
2023, I think. What's Star Citizen?
It is basically it's a giant open world game. It's basically an entire universe, and you go on and you fly to planets and you level up your ship and you meet other people and you kill enemies and do tasks. But the game there's no story.
So it's kind of like No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yep. And it keeps growing. They keep adding new planets, new locations, new stuff, and you just fuck around in this world and meet other people online and build your ship up and
that's awesome.
Control your territory, and it's just a never ending. You just hop on.
I love like games like that, or like the ones that don't necessarily have a point. Not that they don't have a point, but I think they don't have like you don't need to do anything in particular, or just like even like these new like roguelike games. If you ever played them, like Hades or like Dead Cells, where it's just like you do runs, and each run you can buy more power ups to do your next run, but every one is like completely different in terms of the way that it's pretty cool. Some of the stuff people are making. So
I wanted to quick before we're done is bring up the Matrix demo on Unreal 5. I downloaded it for my Series X, and when I fired that thing up, I was just like, it was like the first time I was in a Tesla or I held an iPhone. I was like, this is why the Series X and the PS5 is out. This is the future of video games. That shit was so real. I was shocked.
Yeah.
No, have you seen a Superman mod for it?
No.
Oh, so someone created a Superman, and he like flies through the city in the Matrix thing, and like there'll be like this sonic boom as like Superman like goes super super fast. It's fucking unreal. The graphics it looks real. It looks like real life.
It's ironic you say Unreal because it's
because it
Unreal,
is the
Unreal Engine. Woo! That Unreal Engine 5 is insanity. That's like the craziest thing. Like that. Just to end on one thing. It's like Fortnite, right?
Yes.
In order to avoid copyright claims on the music that they are having within their stuff, like the lo-fi music that they have, it's just procedurally generated by AI in Unreal 5.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, it makes me kind of scared.
Right. Dude, Will, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at will.hues. Also on Facebook, just Will Hues. It's WILLHUES. I'm on Twitter too, just like Will Hues. I just don't really post anything. I kind of lurk.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's just kind of there so I don't lose the tag if I want to use it at some point. But I'm definitely more active on Instagram. You can hit me up if you want to talk about video games or creative stuff in general. And yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for hopping on this episode. This is a blast. This was an episode I didn't know that I wanted to do until like we were starting to chat, and I was like, fuck yeah, video games.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on the show. This was a boatload of fun, man.
Thank you for having me. It was a ton of fun.
Thanks, dude.
Appreciate you.